Welcome to yet another session of MGD. Today is a extremely special one. We have with us Sandeep Sangaru, who is, I think true to the theme of this session, he's in some exotic location doing some exotic thing. And so can you just tell us for the record, Sandeep, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm on Dal Lake in Srinagar, Kashmir.
Oh, and Hemant has just reminded us that today is World Bamboo Day.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, अभी तो डेट वेट कोई चेक नहीं कर रहा अभी आजकल में मतलब So incredible. I think this is like a really, really amazing sort of a serendipitous kind of a session because, it's an honor to kind of, interview and chat with Sandeep. He's someone whose work I've been personally extremely enamored by from the time I joined NID. So he was one of those guys who used to, hardly speak much about what he was doing, but he would then come out of the workshop with something of exceptional beauty. And we were as a practice so fascinated by what he was doing that we actually did a very borderline stalker kind of a document on his practice. And what I thought is just to kickstart things, I'd maybe share a few images from that document, and I'd like to sort of pick Sandeep's brains about his journey and the amazing work that he's doing. So let me just share a few slides. Yeah. So I think most of us know Sandeep from his incredible work with bamboo. But while documenting his work and by also pretty much stalking him online and reading all kinds of stuff that he'd been talking about and the interviews he's given and the amazing people who've interviewed him, we kind of realized that what he's actually inhabiting is a large craft network. And the bamboo was actually probably the beginning of a long journey. Or the stuff that we are all familiar with seeing was really a small part of that large tapestry. So Sandeep, could you tell us a little bit about what drew you to bamboo in the first place, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I had no clue about bamboo. One day I was sitting and having chai with Ranjan, and he said, "Would you like to go to Tripura and teach artisans drawing?" I said, "I have no clue how to teach drawing, first of all." And he wanted me to teach technical drawing and how designers conceptualize and create drawings and stuff, and how do they represent and how they communicate with others to build those prototypes and concepts. So that was my assignment, to teach the artisans, and that's how I landed up in Tripura for 8 weeks. And that was my first exposure to bamboo, and I had no clue of the material then. My only idea was ladders and scaffoldings and huts that I mentioned before to you. Yeah, so during those 8 weeks, what I saw around was amazing, and what a single material can be used in many ways, like right from a basket to houses to bridges and everything, which you see in Northeast are built from bamboo. And it's a way of life for them. And that triggered many thoughts on my head, like how can one tool and one material can give out so many products? Coming from industrial design background, you look things from a different perspective when you start designing a new product. But here, it just happens. You think of something, you take a knife, cut a bamboo, and convert that into a product. So that whole interaction with the material and the process of making intrigued me, and that's how I got it engaged with the material, because that's all I wanted to do when I was growing up as a kid. I was always hands-on. I was making things, and I used to wander off. And my only purpose in life was to explore and make things by hand. So, and this opportunity of working with artisans in Tripura gave me that opening to explore bamboo and crafts in general.
And I think most of us at NID, sort of remember this. This is when you had, I think, just come back from Tripura and you were carrying this prototype with you. I think everyone in the workshop, I remember I was around, and I think Richa Kapse was, you had done the shoot with her.
Yeah.
And it was one completely incredible piece of furniture, because I don't think anyone, realized that this was furniture before. and it was this completely like, something was landed from outer space. It looked like something almost digitally fabricated, and it looked very, very far ahead of its time in terms of even an idea. So, I mean, tell us a little bit more about Trust Me.
So yeah, this triangle was an accident. Even I didn't know that it was a furniture while I was making it. Uh, because I was quite while working with the artisan, they would tell me a lot of things about bamboo, and I said I don't know much about bamboo. And I thought I may not be working anymore with bamboo after this exercise with them. So I thought I should get back something from there as a remembrance of the material and the technique and whatever they do. So I thought, let me design and make something, and I ended up making this triangle, which was meant to be a seat, not vertically but horizontally. With a woven structure in between the empty space that you see.
Oh, wow.
But once we made that triangle, what happened was the artisan said, Sandeep, हमने bamboo को कभी ऐसा इस्तेमाल नहीं किया है. And that was the eureka moment. Okay, you guys never made something like this before. So I thought, okay, maybe there is a possibility to explore this material. I have something to start off with. So instead of getting the whole stool that I made with this as a seat, I just got this triangle back. And my flight was almost like 3 hours or 4 hours from Guwahati, no, from Tripura to Ahmedabad. And I had to change 2 flights in Calcutta and in Mumbai. So I was carrying this in my hand, and while the travel was happening, it was a point of conversation for everyone. क्या है आप क्या लेके जा रहे हो? I said, हमने कुछ बनाया है, पता नहीं क्या है, लेकिन कुछ हो सकता है. Then the flight from Calcutta to Ahmedabad was a hop-in flight, but so happened that I unboarded the flight. I should not have done, but I did, and I came into the airport and I had to check in back. And in that process, I met Kaushik Sharkar, and he asked me, "What are you carrying?" And I said, "Oh, this is something to sit on." I just told him randomly, and I demonstrated that whole concept of how we can sit on it. And that's how it all started at the airport in Mumbai. And by the time I reached Ahmedabad, I had a story to tell. Yeah.
It's incredible. And the journey from there to the Red Dot.
That was almost 8 years. So I came back with this triangle, and with Sisir is an artisan who used to work at the Bamboo Center in Ahmedabad, NID. And then I left NID because I wanted to explore crafts. So I came back to Hyderabad, and in 2008, I got another project from Tripura, where I was asked to, the brief given to me was, can you do something that NID has not done in Northeast? And I said, okay. So I said, I have this concept which I have developed before, and I'll take it further and make some more products out of this technique. And that's how I developed a set of products. And the project was supposed to be commercialized and livelihood supposed to be generated for the artisans, but it never happened. But I got an exposure of working with a large group of artisans in the process. And so one of the interns with me said, Sandeep, why don't you send this for Red Dot? I said, what is Red Dot? He said, it's an award. It's like Oscars of design and things like that. I said, I never heard of it before. Then he said, no, you should apply and you should send this because this has great potential to win the award. I said, okay. Then I forgot about it. Then he was with me, so he would pester me to kind of apply. And he would say, you have to pay for the award. So entry, you have to pay a fee. Then once you win, you have to pay a fee. Then you have to pay through the process of winning the award. I said, what is this award where you have to pay all the way through? But we applied it. We were in Kashmir, actually in Srinagar, when we sent the entry. It was the last day. There was a curfew. There was no internet. And we struggled to get to a place where we could access internet and send those files, and we forgot about that because the job was done for me and for him. So one fine day, I got an email, not email, a call from my mom. She said, you got a letter and it says you won an award and you have to pay some money. I said, okay, I'll come back and figure that out. So at that time, I was at NID teaching, and Ranjan was there with me when this phone call came, and I said, I won this award, and I said, oh, good. Things are going. Let's see what's that. So yeah, that's how it happened. After the red dot, things turned because a lot of people started seeing the products all over the world, and inquiries started pouring in, and people wanted to buy products, exhibit in museums and design shows. And since this was a project for a livelihood of the craftsmen, I just connected them to the people who were involved in the whole process of making. But after a few weeks, I get emails back from them that no one is responding, and how do we do this? And yeah, that's how I started this company in 2010 to connect the dots from the farmer to the markets and figure out a way to bring this into this. Yeah.
And Sandeep, one thing that's endlessly fascinating about the work that you do. I mean, you also in Goa for the crafts lab that we had organized, and it was amazing to see your thought process up close. In the sense that I think I can probably only think of you, and I'm not even sure who else comes to mind in terms of Indian practitioners who are able to actually take a very rich crafts tradition, but bring a level of international finesse to it, which is as valid in an auction house as it is in an apartment in Bombay, or as it is in like I think the Christie's international director said something really amazing about you. He said that your pieces are as at home in a house in Paris or in an apartment in China. So it's global and extremely local at the same time. So it's an amazing balance. And I think what was really lovely about your process is that you managed to approach it as a nomad almost. That it's not a linear process. Like I mean, even in this, the story of you meeting Kaushik and making up a story on the way, and then coming with this whole kind of amazing, almost serendipitous, bumping from one to another very, very honestly. It's a really, really incredible perspective. And I was wondering if you could take us through how this perspective started. Like what was your childhood like, and where you saw this kind of these nomadic roots beginning. So I'll just hand over the slides to Sajid. While we're waiting, Sandeep, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, about things that you remember?
Yeah. So the images that Sajid is showing, I don't remember any of it. It's only the images I remember from the images itself. I was born in Shillong. My dad was in army, so it was a nomadic life in a way. When you are in the army, you kind of hop in from one place to another. So that's my mom there. And my dad used to photograph our family movements in this little Ashtar Click 3 camera. So we have this lovely 4x4
Tango
pictures.
Babu.
So yeah. And my mom would say I used to be a very quiet person, quiet boy, never trouble anything. I would be with myself all the way. And my dad retired. He took retirement that year. Not after 2 years, I was born in Shillong. Then he wanted to start his own dairy farm. So that's my dad on the left on his farewell. His mom. This was in Shillong. Yeah. And this is my native place where I used to spend my summers, most of my summers. That's me standing in the middle. My brother was sitting that, and that's my chacha, my mom. So it's a village near Gopalpur in Orissa. Yeah, that's my dad enjoying his drink. So he used to paint. So all the paintings on the wall you see are done by him. And a lot of other craft works you see are done by my mom. So yeah, there was a lot of painting happening. My dad used to do oil paints. So there was oil paints and easels and brushes all over the place whenever I was growing up. And my mom used to be an extracurricular person. She, as a kid, she represented national volleyball for India. She was a national carom champion. She used to be a very outdoor person all the time. And while we were growing up, she never bothered about us. She would just let go where we have to go and do what we had to do. She never pestered us to kind of sit and study or excel in school or whatever. But she was also the teacher in the school we studied. So yeah, so growing up was a mix of a lot of things that was happening. And I would generally wander off and disappear from home, and my mom would just be hunting for me all over the place. And yeah, uh, to get back to home. So I guess, yeah, the nomadic way of life, I think I have a tendency to not sit at one place and just wander off. If I'm also sitting at one place, I'm wandering in my thoughts. So I cannot never focus and study or read anything properly. So if I start reading a book, I would just disappear and in my thoughts and go somewhere else altogether from the context of what I'm reading. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, this is something that I cannot do. So I have to be outdoors. I have to be hands-on. So that's what engaged me much more than trying to sit and do things at one place.
And I mean, most of us in NID, at least, who were around when you were, I mean, I completely remember you only in the workshop. So, I mean, this idea of, speaking through doing, right? I mean, how did that start? I mean, do you have kind of experiences before NID that you remember were formative in terms of, you being able to express by making?
Yeah, that used to happen in my juries because I talked less. But my softboard and my table would be filled with things. So my jury would just get over in like 10, 15 minutes. Shwetal is there, so she can vouch for that. And yeah, uh, so yeah, I think the work spoke, I guess so then, because I never got any feedback much. So everything was good, and I would just finish it off. So yeah.
Must have offered you a faculty position in first year, no?
Yeah, you did?
No, and tell us a little bit about your, I mean, what your relationship was like with faculty. I know you were very close to Ranjan. And, what was NID like in terms of, working so closely with him after? And
Yeah, I went back to NID as a faculty in 2002 for 2 years. So that's when I got a little more closer to Ranjan and Aditi, to the process of working with Bamboo in Northeast and the Handmade in India book, where I documented Andhra Pradesh. Yeah, so that's when a lot more interaction happened with Ranjan, and he could see and uh, my thoughts of where I was trying to head, because I didn't know where I'm going, but he could figure that, okay, this guy has to do this somehow. So he would just give me these opportunities to explore. So I went to Northeast, came back with these tons of video footage, and I gave it to him, and he said, why don't you make a film? I said, I have no clue of editing and making a film. I worked with the film industry before, but I don't know how to kind of put together a film. The film department is there. I think we should ask some students to get it done. So Ranjan requested the department, and I think no one agreed to do it, or something happened that, yeah, it was not a exciting job for them to take up. So Ranjan told me, why don't you do it? You tell me what you want, I'll figure that out. So I said, I need a Mac and I need Final Cut Pro. And the next day in my cabin, I had a big Mac with the software. Then I had to learn the software for a week. And since I worked as a cinematographer before coming to NID, between my graduation and coming back to NID as a faculty, me, Bhupesh, and Kata started a special effects company in Hyderabad called Digital Force. So doing that process, I was also involved in making, working as an assistant cameraman. So I picked up few tricks of how to connect the dots of editing, because continuity and stuff like that. So I kind of managed to do a very sketchy film called Chalo Katla Mara. And yeah, with Ranjan, he kind of offers you things to just explore. Matlab, he doesn't think much. He said, okay, this guy will do it. I should just provide him this. And he used to facilitate things. So I think that was more exciting about it. And he would just encourage you and push you. However bad your work is, he will encourage to kind of do it and end it and finish it and reflect on it later, rather than try to intervene in the middle and say, okay, this is good, or that do it this way or that way. So he won't interfere much, but he would give you the opportunity to figure it out yourself and come back with some kind of a solution. I think that gave me a lot of confidence in myself that, okay, if I start something, I can figure out a way to do it.
Fantastic. And this love for photography and images, I mean, when do you see that? I mean, when did that begin? And because it's something that you were doing through NID as well. I mean, you always had your camera with you. You were documenting, like, you know, Garba, and I think you had like, I mean, I think you and Sanandan, I remember two people who always had their cameras with them, and, you know, it was always kind of out and about, but it looked like more lots of personal projects going on.
Yeah, Sanandan was the one who got me my first camera. We both went together to buy that.
What are you saying? Yeah.
So he had his connections in Old Town. Like, Sandeep, I'll take you there. We'll get a good price, and you take me on his bike. And yeah, I got my first camera, which was an FE10 or something, Nikon FE10. Very basic camera for 10,000 rupees or 11,000. Yeah, with the electronic shutter. So that was the plus point to it. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, photography has been something that I wanted to explore because, yeah, and I picked it up and learned through the way. So I was just shooting, and seeing pictures and just trying to learn while doing.
Awesome.
And
I think photography is also in some ways facilitated travel, right? I mean, is there some sort of a correlation between places you go to take pictures and places you do work?
No. So the whole idea after my +2, I wanted to join NID. And my whole idea of my career was to take a job which would allow me to travel and explore and see things around and possible work with people to make things by hand and stuff like that. So I had two options. One, to do design. At the time, like, fashion design was the thing, and NIFT was something that visible all around. But NID, I had no clue. So I got to see in some magazine about NID, and that's how I applied. But I couldn't convince my parents about it, about a career in design, because I had no clue what the design career would be. But yeah, so one was that, and another was to travel. So we had a lot of family friends who were in merchant navy, and they would like travel for 6 months and have holidays for 6 months, and they would be earning a lot of money and doing their own things in those 6 months. So I was quite fascinated by that whole concept of traveling and working for 6 months and having. So the other option I chose to pursue was merchant navy. After +2, I took an year drop trying to figure out where to head. So I met a lot of merchant navy engineers and cadets and people all over the place. I traveled to Mumbai with my dad, meeting them, trying to understand how it works. Then design was happening. Well, I was trying to figure out about NID and other things like architecture and stuff. And my parents said, why don't you pursue engineering? So I said, mechanical engineering would take you to merchant navy later. So that's how I joined engineering. And while engineering was happening, which I never did, I just might have gone for, my attendance would have been like for 1 year out of the 4 years, but I got to finish it. But at the end of it, I kind of applied for NID and got through. And I still had some tests to be finished at NID, at my engineering, but MGD said, why don't you join and you can clear those later. That was another shock, because MGD is saying, okay, come over, we'll figure that later. So yeah, so I came to NID because the date of joining was earlier than my final thesis exam was. So I came back to NID, joined, then I had to go back for a week to finish off my engineering. So things were happening. So NID gave me that space also to do and explore. So after NID, at NID, I decided I won't be taking up a job. I'll be on my own or to do something to figure out life myself. So the Digital Force happened where we started our company. So in Digital Force, movie industry was not my cup of tea, working the full time. And so NID gave me an opportunity to come and teach. So the 2 more years gave me more time and space to figure out where I'm heading. And the exposure to craft through these 2 projects gave me the space to think, okay, this is what I want to do, because this allows me to travel, this allows me to work with people, and it allows me to gather stories through my photography or pictures and things like that. So all things came together in the 2 exposures that I had in those 2 years. And that's when I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to continue doing it. So yeah, so that's how it all started. And I think photography, working, making, everything come together. Yeah. So I don't intend to,
Lovely.
like, I don't start the purpose to design a product. Yeah, just to explore, and the product is just an outcome of the whole process.
Mhm. Oh, that's a lovely segue into your presentation, Sangaru. Like, would you like to share with us some of what you've been doing in Kashmir and some images?
Yeah. So where is that slide? Okay, I'm gonna share a story of can you see my slide? No.
Not yet.
Yankee
Yeah,
stuff.
just a sec.
Right now we're busy with the polls.
Chaddi pole.
Why is everything related to Sangaru's chaddi? I want to know. You're on mute.
चड्डी पहन के pool
He
खिला
wears
है.
emojis, so that's showing that designer in him.
Seen in red chaddis. Now it's which chaddi does he wear? Like, Sangaru.
This is the Zoom.
I forgot to ask you,
3 o'clock. No?
Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm going to show you is pictures from Kashmir only today. I've been documenting places all over the country wherever I travel, but I didn't have time to put all of them into a story. It's too complex. So I'll just stick to Kashmir because I'm here and it brings out a nice connection to the space. So I love shooting people and capture.
You should
Them
explain
in
that a bit
their-
better. Your Shikara guy is looking very worried.
Habib is when a guide in Kashmir and
No, I think
around
when you said
So
I love
it
shooting
takes
people,
me,
you look very worried.
So yeah, Habib is watching the slides from here too. So yeah, so I love shooting people. And a lot of people say Kashmir, how do you manage? Is it safe to go? And once you're here, once you engage, initial years when I came, I started coming to Kashmir since 2004. Of course, in 2004, the intensity of the presence of API was quite high, and there was curfew all the time, and it was difficult for me to also take out a camera and shoot because I was quite shy because it's such a place that with army around, shooting pictures would have been. But I kind of managed to gather the courage to shoot. with people, and engaging with the locals was also a challenge initially, uh, because with this conflict, it's always been like Hindustan and Kashmir and things like that. So yeah, I was from Hindustan, and things were better in Hindustan and not in Kashmir. And the whole conversation would lead that way and put me in a situation that if I would like to take a picture, also would be difficult to take a picture. So it took me a few years to figure that out and engage with them and break the ice. So this picture is nothing. I was just walking down a street. I walk into a house. It's a potter's house, and there were kids around, and it was so convenient that I could just walk into someone's house like that and engage with them. And this girl would just run around and show me the whole place. And she was this very shy girl. And if I take the camera, she would just run around. So I had to just run behind her to kind of tease her and try to take a picture. And this was a moment where it reaches a point that she couldn't go any further anywhere. She was on the first floor. And yeah, this was a nice, beautiful moment at that point of time. And while I was there, I was also engaged with teaching at an institute called CDI, Craft Development Institute, where Sharik Faruqi was the director. He's an ex-Canadian senior, and Renuka, his wife, they were here. So yeah, I was working with the institute, so they would assign me to do photography for the brochure and institute work. So I would also engage in doing and meeting different other crafts community apart from the crafts that I used to work with. So yeah, capturing these moments with people working in their environments. So slowly I started exploring the rest of the valley through the projects and through photography. So I went to interiors of places where people would generally say, "आप उधर मत जाओ, बहुत danger area है, and it's very risky. You should not go there." But somehow I managed to go and go. This is the place in Bandipora. It's a little north of Srinagar. Here they weave handloom woolen shawls called chadar and loy, which not many of us know because the Pashmina has taken over the whole glamour of Kashmir shawls. So these are very local traditional shawls that they make with the hand spun wool, hand woven. So these are the weavers. So he was showing me how the technique is done. So yeah, so this was an image Aditi Ranjan wanted once. So she called me up here in Srinagar. Can you capture an image of someone spinning Pashmina?
It's a lovely image, man, Sangaru. It almost looks like she's weaving.
So this was quite an experience. Yeah. So that day she fed me such nice rotis and sabji after the capturing. This is her kitchen. She cooks on one side, and there is this little charka. She spins the wool, and they have a loom inside where the boys, her son, they weave the shawls. This was another house where Habib took me to. I was looking for a tailor to stitch a ferran for me. A ferran is an overcoat that you wear during winters here. So he's a tailor who does that, and that's his family. That's his wife. So yeah, in a small space, there's so much happening. So if you see, she's put her feet on a kangri. It's a winter heater. It has coal burning inside, and it's a very useful, productive. It's like a product that you don't see, but it exists all over the place. And these are like good design that you can see in the country, that you find a lot of these products, like how Eames mentioned Lota, simple, functional, and it's in winter, so you can also fry or roast your mooli, aloo, or whatever they need, and have a baked dish. Yeah, so I'll quickly go through these images, or you want me to pause for few seconds? I'll do that. But these are people I've been meeting. So these are basically moments I capture when I'm with someone engaging. So I don't know what's the story behind this, but yeah, this was a mother child, and she's breastfeeding her young born. And yeah, it's in Kashmir. So the picture actually talks a lot how people are here, and yeah. And the most interesting part is the studios that people have here, and they work from their home. So one part of their house is the workshop. So everyone is engaged in and the whole learning stream things. And the environment is so perfect. Yeah, so basically these are environments I capture, the work environments, which are nice environment portraits of people working. And this is the space. This is from my first trip. This was shot on a film. This was shot on the Nikon FE10 on film. God, I don't know what's with the slides. This is the same space, yeah. So on the left, you see the it's a ziyarat shrine. It belongs to Shah Hamdan, the first Sufi saint who came to Kashmir, who brought along with his all the artisans from Persia into Kashmir, and lots of crafts and art that came from Samarkand and Persia. So that's his shrine. It's called Shah Hamdan. And the river changes during the years. The water recedes, sometimes the water gets filled up, there is snow. So yeah, it's a never-changing landscape there. Every time I come, it's a new view and it looks different. This is the Jama Masjid in Srinagar.
Wow.
During the winters. So I work very close to this place where all my artisans live. There is some red line on my slide.
I was just drawing on everything.
No, I might have drawn something. Anyway, I'll try to figure that out. हबीब थोड़ा उधर घुमा दोगे, धूप आ रही है. नहीं, थोड़ा ऐसा घुमा दो बोर्ड को.
This is the most incredible place to have a presentation. Like Gumao the boat because there's like sun coming.
ऑटो वाले नंद बात भाई साहब लेफ्ट साइड में ले लो पढ़ ली.
Yeah, Sandeep, on your screen, I think you'll have some annotation icon, so you can click erase from there if you have access.
How can I do that? A note, undo.
Or actually, even if you stop
It's
sharing
done.
and then reshare. Okay, done.
No, it's done.
Okay, cool. Wow, it's lovely.
Control Shift play. Yeah. Something strong.
Maybe show it in the smaller size only, Sandeep.
Yeah,
Yeah, continue
Yeah.
like,
sure.
yeah.
No, it's good this way.
Okay, be stubborn.
Sandeep, just show some live shots also around you.
Live shots. I can put my camera that side. So you not
Yeah,
see
that's
my
beautiful,
face.
beautiful, amazing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you can see the light around.
Lovely. Are there more slides, Sandeep?
Yeah, the slides are not moving here.
Your video is
Yeah.
moving. That's great.
Cool. So I thought, I mean, maybe we could. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, great. That's right.
Yeah, so the lake as a space is also something that intrigues me all the time. So this is the vegetable market one day. The color changes and the scapes. Yeah. So this is inside Dal Lake. So what we see usually in pictures are like beautiful boats and one waterscape. But inside there is a way of life where people live, and there's a particular tribe which live on the water. They're called Hais. Hopefully I pronounced it right. Yeah, and they make boats. They live. Some do fishing. Some run the houseboats. Some make boats. So yeah, they live in the and they grow vegetables.
And are you working on a project with them right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way if the boat builders so we can work with, because boat building is something that is banned in Kashmir because they don't want to build more houseboats, and they can only maintain them, and that's how it happens. So I thought maybe trying to work and figure out a way to create some new application using the same technique of making would be good
Oh
fun.
wow.
So that's
amazing.
how. So I have designed a few products, not few, just one. Yeah. So I gave the drawings to the boy to figure it out. So I'll go back and we'll discuss how to.
So by the
take it
time you go
forward.
back, he'll have a prototype ready, over.
No. So he will have 1,000 questions. सर संदीप ये तो मुश्किल है, बनेगा नहीं, अभी कैसे करें? So this is the lake. So basically I'm making a boat which is in a smaller size. Yeah, I think once it's ready I'll show you.
Oh wow, it's a full city.
So this is a vegetable market and wholesale market. So they basically come to trade, and from here it goes to the local market where they retail the products. And this is a weird angle, but when you're shooting on a boat, your horizon always keeps moving, and it keeps changing all the time. You cannot never get a straight horizon photograph while shooting on a boat unless you have a stabilizer that works. So yeah, so I was trying to do something, and I wanted to capture this whole frame, and it becomes clear. But if I turn the photo upright on a landscape, on a portrait mode, it looks really weird. So yeah. So they sold all the vegetables. They're departing after this shot. So there is a lot of things that happen in Kashmir apart from. So there are. You want to buy apples? Anyone apples? The apples on boat here. It's on my video. So this is a bakery. They have local bakeries at every nook and corner, and they are called Kandur, and the baker is called a Kandur Wan. and they make breads thrice a day, early in the morning.
You're passing by Apple shop,
And yeah,
Apple store.
so yeah, it's better than my taste. Number three. So these are shots from different tandoors that I've been documenting over the past 3 years. So every tandoor has a similar setup, but the whole ambience is different with the composition of people in it.
Sandeep, there's, I mean, just something to pick your brains about while we're seeing these images. I mean, two things that really struck me is about the intimacy of the images, right? Like, because you're in some cases, especially in the crafts images, you're in the same room, which doesn't look like a large room. But so what's the process of engaging with someone till a point that you become invisible, till you become able to capture these images? I mean, what is that sort of process like? Because all these can't be done in a short iteration, right? These are long projects. Like, you've been going to Kashmir for I don't know how many years now, right? I mean, it's not something that you can do over a weekend or something that you could do over, like a short intervention. So these are like long relationships that you've nurtured to be able to do the kind of work that you're doing, right? So, I mean, can you just tell us your framing of projects? Because, like, most of us, especially who are servicing markets, tend to get stuck with very short projects.
Yeah, that's why I want to be my own boss, design for myself and make things for myself, so I don't get constrained by all these deadlines. So yeah, but it's a challenge to also sustain that way. So I try to engage in different things. When I'm photographing people, I'm in very close proximity, and it takes a while if they are completely new people to make. To see me invisible. So this particular shot is like taken early morning at around 5 o'clock. So I had to actually wake up at 4 in the morning to go to this place. So Habib, who's sitting behind my boatman, is right in the picture, smoking a cigarette there. Yeah, so he comes early in the morning, wakes me up, and takes me to this tandoor in the middle of the lake, because I wanted to see the tandoors in the lake also. So one early morning we go there and we sit, we chat, we have chai and just engage with them. I talk about recipes, if the context is making bread and what kind of breads they make and things like that. So that's how I start the conversation, and I slowly engage with my phone, take a phone and take pictures so they get comfortable because you're using your phone. Then they become in. Then I take my camera out, so I know the space by that time. I know what to capture, and we wait for the moment to happen to take the picture. So this is another specialty of Kashmir. This is called Harisha. Harissa is like Halim. I don't know if you know Halim, which is
yes.
served during Ramzan in Hyderabad. So in Kashmir, they make with rice as the base, rice, meat, and lots of spices and fat. And it is served with fire. When they give you the plate, it's like it's like it has a fireball on the plate, and you take it out and have it with roti. And it's only made during winters, only for in the months of from December 21st to February 21st. This is where it's a peak winter. It's called Chilai Kalan, where the temperatures really drop very low. And this particular preparation keeps your body really warm because it's filled with spices and fat and meat. So early morning you have this. You only get them early in the morning, and there are only few harissa makers. So the harissa gets over in like half an hour. So you have to be there in time, otherwise you don't get your plate. And they're pre-booked also sometimes that, okay, I'm going to come tomorrow and pick this up and stuff like that. So it's like a hot cake and served like this. So there's a tandoor where it's cooked overnight, and you pick it up from it, and he serves it. So the The spaces are like this, where they make. The person sitting on the top is where the tandoor is, and you sit around and have this, or you get it packed in a blue bag and take it home. So this guy is the most popular in Srinagar. His harisas get over in no time. And it took me like almost 8-9 years to capture this image, because every time I go, it's already shut. And this the time, the last time I came was during a winter, and I think there was some kind of issue and there were lockdown and stuff. So people were not moving around much. So I got this opportunity to get in and have his harissa. So he does this chonka and puts it like someone is getting it packed in a tin dabba here. So he pours it, and the dabba is also like filled with fire. Quite a performance that is. And lately, I've been documenting the nomads of Kashmir. There are two nomads
Oh,
that
wow.
live in. So one are called Bakarwals, and the other one is called Gujars. So the Bakarwals are basically people who rear sheep and goats. And they keep moving all the time, and they go to very high altitudes. And Gujar is a community who rear cattle, and they make a lot of cheese, curd, and milk products out of them. And they travel from one hut to another hut over the year, and they have 4 stops every 3 months. And they don't travel high altitude. So this particular guy is a Bakarwal. While his sheep are grazing, he's taking a nap. And they are always on the move.
Some Nat Geo stuff, man.
So they live in these log huts, which are scattered all over the route that they travel in. And they are called kothas. And they're very basic square blocks of log huts jutting out of the mountain slopes. And this is how they live inside with their livestock. So what you see on the ground is the carpet, which is like fresh pine needles spread out. And it keeps it warm and fresh and green. And this is the space inside. So on the left is where their cattle stay. On the right is where they live. And the deep inside they have a storage. And it's quite nomadic in this way. And if you look at their way of life, it's like goes back to like the way Vikings used to live, maybe just out of the land. They just gather things, put it together, and live in that space with their cattle in the same space. So it's quite intense when you enter this space. The smell, the aroma of the food that is being cooked, or the chai that has been offered, which is out of the fresh butter from the milk that they've made, and things like that. So it's quite an amazing explosion of senses when you are inside this space.
Incredible.
So this is the hut that you see in the background. That was where I was inside in the last 2 pictures. And that's the sheep and horses. And this one is from the Gujar side, Gujar community. So they have more resolved houses. So they have a permanent village where they stay, where they come back after their nomadic travel, where the old people stay and pregnant women stay back. So not everyone travels all the time. So yeah, this is one of those spaces. I spent a day here cooking, eating, capturing, having tons of chai. So the chai they make is called nun chai. It's a salt tea. It's made out of leaf tea, which is boiled for some 4 hours with a bit of soda. And they add milk before the serving it. So once you add milk to it, the tea turns pink and it's salty, and you have it with bread or roti.
And are there moments that you feel when you're there that you don't want to move back?
Yeah, it happens all the time. And sometimes I do stay back with them. So they were kids, and there's an interesting story behind these kids. So I was trying to engage with them and trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up. And they said, we like to be what my dad and my father is doing, and the way we live in a nomadic life. I said, you don't want to study and go out and do something else? I said, no, we study. And he said, okay, how do you study? They have a teacher moving along with them all the time. So that there's a teacher who travels with them, and they have this basic education that is given to them. So I was writing the name of the village and the names, and this girl snatches away my notebook and says, "You're writing it wrong. The spelling has to be this way." And because so it's such a interesting way to also engage with the kids and have fun. Yeah, that's the end of my slides for.
That's incredible, man. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you so much. That was like an amazing tour of, of all the amazing things that you've been doing. So I actually wanted to, bring in two people here to chat with us about their experiences working with you, right? So is Rachna around?
How does this slide go away? It doesn't go away.
Stop share.
Hi guys.
Hey, Rachna. Hey, so I know that we worked on this crazy project together, and I wanted you to, just to jog your memory about, what was it that made you and Murli kind of reach out to Sandeep? What was the experience like, and what were the just things that you remember from that project?
Sajid, can you do that?
So Sangaru, you ready for this? So
Yeah.
so
you can also give him some feedback now, Rachna.
Basically, we wanted to work with Sangaru for a long time, more Murli than me, and Sangaru wanted to hang in Bombay and we wanted to have fun. So we're working on this movie, Dhoom 3. And Dhoom 2, sorry, what is Dhoom 2, na? Yeah, it was Dhoom 2. And we thought that why not get a product designer, to come in and design some cool gadgets that we needed in very pure NID designer style. We thought that that's the way the movie industry works. It was also our very first big movie. And you were also there, Ayaz. You were doing a diploma with us at that point of time. So we called in Sangaru, and Sangaru was very excited, and he came, and we had to design some, bag in which the clamps came up and the bag became whatever and opened into a parachute. And we had these clamps where, our protagonist, which is Hrithik Roshan, put it on the glass and it would cut a circle and everything. And Sangaru went about doing it in this puristic fashion, which is, said it should be this much weight, and this is how it guides. The suction cup should be like this, and this is how the glass will not break. And if he's scaling up a building, it should be like this. And we did prototypes, and he actually lathed the whole thing in aluminium, and we did die casting and all those kind of things. And then the client would come back and say, "But ye to bahut complicated hai. It doesn't look like very much. Why don't you make it funky?" And then we would all be trying to say Sangaru was seething, saying, "Oh, they do not understand anything. How can it cut the glass? It will not work like this." And we had lots of these parts, and they kept saying, "But ye to ekdam plain color hai. Isme kuch funky color dal do." And he's like, "But this is the material. It's actually aluminium. It's buffed. What can I do with it?" So I don't blame him for running away to Kashmir after finishing that project. He went as far as he could to the other end of the country. And I think he vowed never to work in Bollywood again because they were so fickle as far as their thinking is concerned. I don't blame him. It was quite a tunnel vision kind of a approach that they had. And I don't have pictures, unfortunately, but Sandeep had done some lovely work for it. He had actually laid everything. You remember that I asked what all, how much R&D went into doing that entire thing, and whatever. And I don't think any of them cared. It was for them. It was all about the overall look of something. I think the biggest compliment that Sandeep got was from Hrithik Roshan himself, because he designed some hand thing, and he
Yeah.
was very fascinated and taken up. He actually saw some merit in it and said, "This is the first time that I've worn something which actually is not just like maybe a Velcro thing with some buckles and some blinking lights, but it actually has a mechanism behind it." So, Sandeep,
Yeah.
what do you want to add?
Me?
Yeah.
No, actually, yeah, I was surprised to get this call from Murli. I wasn't actually in Srinagar when Murli called me. So I had worked with Murli on a production design course at NID before that, and that's when I met him first with Ani and Murli. And and he called me. I was like, Sandeep, would you like to work on this project? I said, okay. And I said, let me come back to Hyderabad and I'll call you back and we'll figure this out. Yeah, and after that it was I stayed for how long? I stayed with Murli. I kind of crashed
Couple
at
of
his
months,
place.
yeah.
No, more than a couple of months, I guess. Yeah, because then the floods happened, the movie got postponed, and so much happened. So much drama was happening at the same time. Yeah. After that, I kind of said I won't work with Bollywood anymore. Done with it.
No, I for some reason have a very rosy picture of that whole time. Like I remember like having lots of fun on set. It was like also a chance to see Aishwarya Rai dancing and like skimpy clothes. That was very good.
Yeah. You were doing the sets for dance and all. I was doing the gadgets.
I was like Guruji's
so you had
assistant.
all the fun.
You were also. It was like tourism and immigration. Like how so you were the tourist and Sandeep was the migrant. It was a completely different picture that you get. So for you, it was like we were buffering everything. There was Murli and me and Sandeep, and anybody said anything, and you we could if they said let's make it like this, and we were like no, and you say yeah I can do it, and you start sketching over there, starting with your pad over there, and they're trying to look at you and say stop, stop, get over it. So it was a completely different ball game, but it was fun in parts. The scale was huge, but I think the specific parts of the project had very different kind of inputs. And Sangaru's job was a very tricky one because it had to have Hrithik Roshan's body shape, it had to have all the gadgetry, and it had to look what they wanted it to look like in a Minority Report or something, without investing time, money, or thinking. And Sangaru was doing it as a product design thing which would actually work. And I don't think that is what they were really thinking of. They couldn't understand it. So leave alone thinking of it. That was beyond their situation. Yeah, it went on for quite a long
I remember
time.
because every single minute detail was worked out. I mean, I think there were like scale CAD drawings for everything, and it was really incredible. Because I remember I was translating his drawings into Rhino, so each and every there was like the threading on the screw was also mentioned on drawing, so that I think he was overcompensating for my jugaad thing.
Thanks to I learned Rhino sitting behind you. Okay, I'm just connecting the laptop. Just a minute.
No worry, putting all staring at you, pressure on you.
No, I'm back to my Shikara, guys. So,
Phil and Yankee can sing for us.
The network will be little bit slow. The network is a little bit slow here.
चल रहा है.
He's showing. Wow, kya baat hai.
3H code into 3H code.
Oh, that is also Bombo, is it?
He is using a filter for even his live show.
Filter?
It's called Kashmir filter.
Aryan. Just boil it in water. Okay.
Thank you.
Basically, it's boil it because all
Don't bang that
are
board.
very suffered due to the coronavirus. So keep the water boiling. And you need more?
Thank you. I'll have it later.
Sandeep, just a question. How old the kids
Yeah.
have to be to, pedal the boat like this, the way the guy moved behind you just now? I mean, how young children can
They
actually
actually, they're very young, but they do it like, कितने बच्चे साल कितने बड़े होते हैं नाव चलाते हैं?
From after 3 years.
Oh,
हाँ 3 साल, third year, after 3 years.
क्या बात? Amazing.
Where you from?
Bangalore.
Bangalore. I've been in Guntur last year.
Where?
Guntur Army Club.
Yeah, just a minute.
I've been in there. Many times I've been in.
It's like a deadly screensaver. I asked for some time.
He's getting strip search right now as we're speaking.
That's why he's moved the camera the other side.
हाँ, ये देखो scenery.
Go take bamboo. I think best view award should go to Jalsi.
Photo? Just did.
Oh, God. Oh, was it Jasjeet? I thought Manmohan Singh.
Why so? I think the Shikara view is much better right now.
Sangaru, is he making the presentation now?
I think so. He has ordered some
No,
bamboo.
yeah.
Looks like.
Quickly bending something on the
He
side.
ordered bamboo, is baking the bamboo, taking photography, putting it into slides. Full happen.
Okay, I'm just showing what is coming first.
Just trust him.
Coming first.
Hey, this is Germany, no?
Yeah, this is the Ambiente Cafe that we did last year in Germany.
This is the Ambiente Cafe last year in Germany.
We had a date, no?
We had a date.
Focus.
Yes.
Sadly, boy, no. Focus, no.
Yes.
Focus. Focus. Focus.
So this was the cafe. Can you see?
Yeah.
So this is the cafe. Can you see?
Yes, focus ho gaya.
We can.
Nice.
Lovely.
Nice presentation.
Nice presentation. Thank you. I don't know where
Are
the
you showing
files went.
more?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the folder.
He met Kaushik.
Huh?
I think Sangaru met Kaushik. उसको story बता.
Yeah, I met him in the toilet. So I stepped out of the plane because I wanted to relieve myself and have a walk around. And I meet him in the toilet and we. So yeah, it was.
Play Uttarayan.
शक्ल से पहचाना ना संगारू.
My files are not opening for some reason.
Censored material.
हाँ ये सामने का स्क्रीन सेंसर का ये स्क्रीन है.
You can see my screen.
No,
preview
not
is not yet. Okay.
अरे वाह.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, this is some presentation I had made earlier, so I'm just sharing it with you. So yeah, this is how the triangle works as a stool, and that's how I went about products. So this is capturing the essence of the making. And this is the first set of products that were used, that were made as a collection. So we keep adding to the collection because this technique keeps evolving all the time. And sometimes if someone wants a table or a bar table or a bed, we just use this technique to make that product that's required. So this is the process of making. It's a workshop we have. The whole workshop is grown very organically, and I just took a space, and
Where is
whenever
this?
we needed space, this is in Bangalore. Yeah.
Okay, the Bangalore place. Okay.
So the focus was to kind of push our boundaries or envelope to create a product that stands out in its quality and craftsmanship. That was my goal while working with bamboo, because always bamboo has been perceived as a material which is cheap and use and throw outdoor material and things like that. So this particular product was auctioned at Christie's, so it was made as a special edition with lacquering.
How did you apply lacquer? This is the Chennapatna kind of lacquer, vegetable lacquer thing.
Yeah. I get lacquer from Chennapatna, and we do it like French polish. So this particular coat has some 20 coats of lacquering to get this intensity.
But it's like a spray.
So it goes through like it's hand applied. It's like French polish. So French polish, no, the traditional when you mix it in spirit and apply layer by layer. Yeah. Since it's a colored lacquer, the color takes a while to gather. So it's like depending on the color that you use. Like this, in case here it's this the indigo, it takes almost like 5-6 layers of coating, then you get that color.
Wow.
So this is at the Asian Paints Color Next Color Forecast exhibit. अभी वे सब मेरा काम है जो मैं करता हूँ.
That's amazing. He's taking this opportunity to present to everyone, Aju Baju.
They're looking at the screen, so I thought as well tell them what I'm talking about.
Hey Sandeep, tell me something. Like us, a lot of your work, including the G chair that you made in NID, the one with the which is also on your logo, the one with the curve. They've got such strong silhouettes. Like it almost looks like it's conceived of in silhouette first. So is that something? Is that how you draw?
It's not how I draw. I always wanted to become a graphic designer, but NID said we don't have graphic design. Because you are an engineer, you need to do industrial design. So I ended up doing furniture, and so my products look very graphic in the sense they're all lines, but they take shape in 3 dimension. So yeah. So this is a hotel in Beijing. There's a hotel in Beijing called Temple Hotel. So this is the boutique hotel.
Sandeep, unmute yourself. I think I muted you while trying to find where the sound was coming from.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
This one is lovely. Yeah.
So it's a rocking bull.
I think we had visited your workshop with Johan, I think when he was 2 years old. We have pictures of him
Yeah.
sitting on this.
Is Bala around? He has one of these in his place. This is a new introduction. It's a dining table.
Even the center members bamboo?
Yeah, everything is bamboo.
संदीप तेरे को मैक्सिमम गाली किससे मिला है?
गाली?
क्या आ गया वापस ड्राइंग लेके टाइप्स?
Yeah. I don't know.
You're right, the shadows are incredible.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible.
So this is something that we did for Varana, Sujata Keshavan's new brand in London. So she wanted these sculptures for a store in London for the opening, the launch opening of. So one day she drops at my studio and says, Sandeep, you're the bamboo expert. Can you do me these 3 sculptures? I said, how much time do we have? He said, we have 1 month and we have to ship it to London also. So I told her that, okay, I'm going to conceptualize something overnight and I'll share it with you tomorrow. And if you like it, we'll go ahead. And so we ended up doing this 3 very beautiful sculptural, I don't know. They are like a combination of human form and dress coming together. So the dress was stitched piece by piece. Every piece here was of 1 dimension, different dimension.
Incredible.
And that dress, so once it was finished, it looked like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's my bamboo work.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much, man, Sandeep. This is really, really incredible.
Thank you. अभी और एक दिखा रहा हूँ.
Yo.
This is the last one. Might have seen all this on social media, but yeah, this is a new community I started working for the last 3 years in Chennapat. So trying to work with them to create something completely new, apart from what they make as toys. So there's a group that they work with women, so I work with them. So we make the components there and assemble it here at our workshop. So we follow the same process of how they make smaller components, but we put it together back and create these chairs. mosquito smell on the lake now.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. It was incredible journey, definitely.
Cool. And
Yeah.
we also have Katta here. So Katta, would you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like working with Sandeep at Digital Force?
Anyone wants to buy carpets?
Unmute yourself.
Are there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, hello.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Kata.
Hey, Sandeep. We had a very good time at Digital Force in the sense like we were always doing so much work without ever getting paid for a lot of times.
I think we were eating in the studio only. Yeah.
Yeah, eating in the studio. We figured out a mess in Amirpet and we used to go and hog like anything there. And we used to work late in the nights. And it was fun. Okay, like we were never afraid about what is the outcome. We just did it. What we liked, we did it. One thing I distinctly remember about Sangaru was that there was a stop motion photography which came up from the movie Matrix. You remember the Matrix had a scene where he dodges bullets and all that stuff.
Bullet time, yeah.
There's a lot of work that Sandeep did, and that's one very clear memory I have of the amount of work that Sandeep did, and it actually was very good. It was amazing, actually. So his experience with the cameras and his knowledge about photography actually came up really, really well in that production. And we all had good fun. And I think it's always great to work with Sandeep. And he's a guy who, as you all know, he talks less and he just does it. He just does it. So the point is, he never gives up. If he sits on the job, he just makes sure that he's done with it. And we did a lot of model making. Okay, like back in Digital Force, we did animals, we did animatronic related animals, we did dogs, elephants, Ganesha, you name it, we did it as things came. We didn't look back because there were two things. One is getting paid for and ensuring that there is enough business to run your organization. And second thing is also learning in the process. There was a point of time where we actually did, you remember this movie Mission Impossible where they would tear up the masks and get into another person's face and prosthetics. Like we got into prosthetics and me and Sangaru were doing a lot of work in prosthetics. So yeah, so I feel that Sangaru should never stop learning, and we as people also should never stop learning. And that's the way. And I really believe that his work in Bamboo is, and his studio, whatever it has in Bangalore, is something that I really, really admire. And at some point of time, I also used to think what Sangaru is good at, like during my NID days. But I truly believe that he never gave up what he started. He never gave up his craft. He never gave up his skill. He never gave up his poise. Like he would really think. I also remember he did a boomerang once. Okay? Like we did a boomerang. We spent like weeks together to make that boomerang, and we finally go and throw up in there and fall somewhere else. So we did a lot of stuff like that, crazy stuff, which sometimes didn't make sense, but we learned a lot in the process. And I feel that Sangaru, being with you, I have also learned a lot of stuff, especially in woodworking. You're an amazing stuff. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think we had a great team and it was all a teamwork.
Yeah.
And yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. That's lovely. So, Sangaru, I'm going to ask you the toughest question one can ask any nomad. Like, what's next?
I don't know.
Right now,
I have to check. I have to check my batteries. Batteries are all running good. Yeah. Yeah, I have no plans. Yeah, frankly speaking, it's just a day in a life. Whatever comes, do it. Yeah.
Cool, that's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Super, super inspiring session.
As I'm going to
Thank you, Ayaz.
spotlight Hemant.
Yeah.
Again, where is Hemant Sutar? He's going to give the vote of thanks today.
Sangaru forgot to talk about frisbee.
There's so many things here to talk about. Yeah.
We'll do one more session for that, Anuj. Over to you, Hemant.
Yeah, thanks, Sajid. And Sandeep, what an amazing journey. And you're saying that you're a shy person, but what kind of amazing pictures you've taken. You became part of life of those people around you and taken such intimate pictures, like amazing. And whatever you've done is like crazy, from bamboo to crafts and winning the Red Dot Awards, like amazing. So thanks a lot for sharing your journey, and you're an inspiration to all of us for doing things and continuously learning.
Thank you, Hemant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to spotlight the others in this.
Zain is giving the silent tap on.
One is spotlighting, we are seeing everyone.
As you, Yankee.
Okay, सुपर सुपर और बोट उधर घुमाओ, धूप बहुत है तुम्हारे ऊपर.
नहीं, शुक्रिया.
Amazing photographs. I wish we could see more of your bamboo furnitures also, yeah.
I can show you if you have time. Yeah, those slides are still pending.
We have all the time. Sandeep, show.
Yeah, we saw less of bamboo. More.
दिखाओ ना, Sangaru.
Hi, Sangaru. It's always inspiring to listen to your stories, and I was so fortunate you visited me in Umeå, and this is part 2 of those stories. So much to listen to you always. So much of visual delight every time you show us your pictures.
Thank you, Jasid. Thank you.
Hi, Sangaru. Great seeing you. Hi. And fantastic work.
Thank you, Amit.
Hey, Sangaru, amazing photographs. Lovely.
Thanks.
Superb.
Thanks.
कहाँ गए?
The lovely picture.
Okay, I'm going to come. Okay, it's gone.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Thanks, Sandeep. Beautiful work. Thank you so much. Just quietly going about doing your work so beautifully.
Sandeep Sangaru, what fun to see you again, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I bump into you in sometime Hyderabad.
I don't know whose voice I heard just now.
What sort of sounding familiar?
Hey Sandeep, Praveen here.
Hey,
thanks. It's always inspiring to see your work. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're feeling better, Praveen.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Sandeep. Remember meeting you with Suman Banerjee in Bangalore studio. You're still safe.
Yeah.
Please keep it.
Wow, that was incredible. Unbelievable. That's very, very cool.
Amazing.
So guys, thank you very much for joining this amazing session of MGD. Hope this has set everyone sorted for inspiration for the next 2-3 years.
Too good.
Thank you, Sandeep, from all of us.
Thank you, Ayaz. You were a good host.
Hey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks, Sajid and Ayaz. It was amazing.
Pratim is back from
Thanks,
from the unknown.
Pratim is here.
Hey, Pratim.
And unmute yourself, Pratim.
Okay, who can guess what he's saying? That's the game.
Unmute.
He's asking for dal chawal from Yankee. Now he wants to know what is Jasjeet's car. What car is Jasjeet driving in?
You guys have to guess.
Yeah, I know.
He's asking Sangaru, what all fish you get in Dal Lake, right?
Pratim bhai, lovely to see you after so long.
Pratim, you'll have to just say what you said just now.
Just shocked
Because it was on mute.
his face.
Oh, hey, Sangaru, nice to see you, man. Your work after a long time.
You didn't change your voice also. What is this? Auto-tune. See you guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Kansode, get off the hills.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Pratim doesn't want to go now. Suman Manik is around.
Hey, I am not able to. I don't know where I am now.
You're in Japan?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I got.
Yeah, I figured out.
See you, everybody.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See you.